Hello and welcome to 21st Century Football, a complete guide to football since the year 2000. I'm joined, as always, by Stat to the man to the Dave. How are you?
Wow, busted. Didn't think that'd happen on this podcast, but I can actually sing the entirety of the Thunderbirds Are Go busted tune. Don't know why that happened, but it did.
Says more about you than we will ever know. Adam Brown, how are you?
More of a crash the wedding kind of guy, to be honest.
Yeah, good stuff.
Honest,
yeah.
But, you know.
If you think about it, Thunderbirds Are Go is actually a commercial cop-out, which, I don't know, says a lot about Dave. We will kick off this episode, as we do, by looking at the Wikipedia page of a man that's going to be, I was going to say top 5 when we get down to the rankings, but as we know, Dave, the rankings might go out the window a little bit in this series. It's Thierry Henry.
I think we've got to do Thierry a lot of justice here, guys. We do. Well, I'm going to say it early. Scoring fairly.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at you when we say that as well.
Looking at me?
Yeah.
I score very fairly.
As always, we just like to get to know our guest. That would be a privilege. And here he is, Thierry Henry.
It would be a privilege.
But yeah, let's get to that Wikipedia page.
Yeah, it's always a good way to kind of, get a little base going really for who we're going to be talking about. And it is Thierry Daniel Henry.
I was just pointing in Daniel.
Daniel, yeah.
I never knew that.
Daniel?
Why are you so stunned?
I'm stunned.
Yeah?
I'm stunned.
I mean, I think there's probably bigger things to focus on than a middle name. But
I just thought Daniel. Thierry Henry is such a beautiful name, but Daniel in the middle.
You speak a bit of French, don't you? I would it'd be more like Daniel.
Daniel.
Or would it just be... I just went to primary school with a lot of Daniels, so I just class it as a bit of a...
Thierry Daniel Henry.
Like a Florian, Thierry Florian Henry. That'd be a beautiful name.
Well, it's a Daniel. Thierry Daniel Henry, born 17th of August 1977. He is considered to be one of the greatest strikers of all time, often been debated as the greatest player in the history of the Premier League. I think that's certainly something which a lot of people wouldn't disagree with. In 2003-2004, he was actually the runner-up for the FIFA World Player of the Year and was runner-up for the Ballon d'Or in the former year as well. Obviously, we're going to focus probably a lot on his time at Arsenal, which is certainly where he made his mark in the Premier League. He transferred to Arsenal for 11 million back in 1999. His mentor and coach was Arsene Wenger, and he became a prolific striker and Arsenal's all-time leading goal scorer, 228 goals in all competitions, and he won the Premier League Golden Boot a record 4 times, 2 FA Cups, 2 Premier League titles with Arsenal, including one during that unbeaten season dubbed the Invincibles. So straight away, just from the Premier League stats alone, we're talking about one of the top players of the 21st century.
I'll let you into a little secret, Ad. Obviously, I'm a Birmingham City fan, but I did actually own an Arsenal shirt from that year because as a child, I was just transfixed by this team that was just demolishing the whole Premier League.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you're just a big fan of the Dreamcast. One of the two. Was Dreamcast? Was it
Was
it 02?
Yeah, it was 02, yeah. I wasn't privileged enough to have a Dreamcast, actually, because I was a big fan of Crazy Taxi. But that's for another day.
Mate.
What a game. Sorry, guys.
What a game. So, think about... Obviously, his final season at Arsenal, he became club captain. He led him to the 2006 UEFA Champions League final. And then in 2007, he ended up transferring, of course, to Barcelona, and he became a part of that incredible Barcelona team. 2008-2009, he was a key part of the historic treble where they won the La Liga, Copa del Rey, and, of course, the UEFA Champions League as well. And then let's look at his career from an international perspective. Think about what he's won internationally. France, Euro 2000, 2003, FIFA Confederations Cup, French Player of the Year, 5 times named the UEFA Euro 2000 team of the tournament, awarded both the 2003 FIFA Confederations Cup Golden Ball and Golden Shoe, and he was also named to the 2006 FIFA World Cup All-Star team, and in 2007, in October, he became France's record goal scorer. There's like no record he hasn't broken. It's ridiculous.
I think when they won Euro 2000, I would have been 9, so my tiny brain couldn't comprehend that anyone else would ever win an international competition. Yeah. I just thought it was just France for life, and that was how it was going to be.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Obviously, on the back of that, we won't say the previous tournament they won. We can't mention that because different era. But yeah,
they won the World Cup. But let's just say it so people don't go two-footed in us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
we can't talk about it.
2 years before that. I mean, you do the math. They did win another major tournament, but I know what you mean, Will. I think that 2000 for me was like Henry was one of those figureheads of that era where he just felt like he was winning everything.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous. I mean, I think that sometimes you just run out of superlatives to throw at him because I mean that time he was unplayable.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it a lot as well, but that era of international football was still that sort of special era where you'd get introduced to your likes of your Zidane's, and even in '98, which we don't talk about, but obviously that's where he sort of launched onto the world stage as well.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the France team in general had so many big players and characters as well that you sort of felt an affinity with, weirdly, because I think for definitely people probably similar to us guys, you kind of went on that journey almost with them, didn't you? And they really kind of, they were front and centre of that international kind of football culture at the time, I suppose. But I mean, from a club perspective as well, that he was really firing. The early 2000s were just. It was just the Henry show in the Premier League, wasn't it?
I think it was a big transfer, wasn't it? 11 million.
It was
a
big
gamble.
Yeah.
Not playing at Juventus, but Arsene
What would
Wenger.
11 million get you now?
Well, exactly. It doesn't get you Thierry Henry. That would be about 120 million, let's say. But I think his development in the teams that he was part of, his relationship with Bergkamp, with Lundberg, with a whole host of players at Arsenal. He was the one that was just there. Yeah. And he was still there as people moved in, moved out, as Fabregas got into the side. Henry was still the captain. And I think that the beauty of Henry is, he's kind of like the first player that really finessed the ball in a certain sense. A lot of finishes with the inside of his right foot come in from left-hand side. And he just, he's always going to be a player that we regard as one of the greatest ever in the Premier League, if not the greatest. I think he's up there with Cristiano Ronaldo, Alan Shearer, in terms of greatest players. And I think he scored a whole host of different types of goals as well. One of the ones that jumps out is that volley against Manchester United, the little flick and the turn, lobbing Fabian Barthez, which wasn't that difficult, but it was an unbelievable goal. And it just shows the brilliance. And football being an art, very much you think of Henry as an artist, more than a player.
I think he's one of the first players, like you said, that really changed.
I don't know what you're laughing about that. I was thinking about when you're talking about the '98 World Cup, and I was just thinking, we played that Monopoly so many times, and France were a blue team, I think. So, dark blue.
I mean, I've heard some on this podcast before, but an artiste.
What would you describe Henry as a player then?
Good lad.
Good lad. No,
Very descriptive.
No, I know. Like he changed, especially in the the Premier League. He changed what was expected of a striker as well. I think in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It used to be like a striker was just someone who's going to put the ball in the net, but he had so much more to his game. Whether or not that's because he came from playing wider initially before he came over to England, I don't know. But he just seemed to add so much more to his game rather than just. I mean, listen, he scored bags full of goals, but. There was something else that I think once he had kind of announced himself in the Premier League, other strikers then had to kind of really up their game and match the benchmark that he set.
I think he was the first ever wide forward. I think there's so many wide forwards now, Ronaldo, Messi, to just name two. That was Henry. Henry would have played that role if he'd come through now, and he would have been as good goal scoring wise. Another thing with Henry as well, like we talk a lot about false nines and all that rubbish. Henry was probably the first false nine in the Premier League where he didn't play in that centre forward position. When Arsenal moved to a one striker system, of course, Bergkamp was playing next to him, behind him, creating for him. But when it sort of moved away from that and Arsenal went to a 4-5-1, Henry was so good at vacating that space, so good at moving away, allowing the likes of Lundberg, Reyes. Remember Reyes? God rest his soul. But what a player he was, and the link up with Henry. I think that's the beauty of Henry. Brilliant first touch, brilliant in front of goal. The only thing you could probably criticise him for, wasn't amazing with his head, but he had everything else.
I'm sorry, Dave.
He didn't need to be necessarily, did he? Because that wasn't really his game. But and the way Arsenal played, it was so quick. But also, I think he was cool, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't have had voom without him. Yeah, I was also thinking when you said the word finesse, I actually don't think that was in the vocabulary before he came.
No, I think that's the way that we describe things now, but we didn't. It wouldn't have been there.
You wouldn't literally have a move on FIFA like your R1 circle without Thierry Henry.
No, the finesse finish,
which has now been reduced, rightly so, because it was overpowered, wasn't it, Dave?
Well, it used to be when I played it in about 2014. I've retired from international FIFA gameplay. So
yes,
but Henry was a great player in FIFA, a great player in any video game. Tall, athletic, strong, quick, superb. And I think it's one of these things where we will, remember the great Arsenal teams when they were winning trophies, winning the Premier League. Henry's the leading light.
I thought let's do a little bit of a game of how well we know Henry as a person, because I feel like, as I mentioned before, he is a player that we did see off the pitch quite a bit in terms of his endorsements and his appearances and things like that. So a little bit of a game. It's going to be called vrai ou faux, which is true or false in French. I've got an A, GCSE.
Little lesson for you, that Will.
Yeah, it is actually.
I knew that already.
Did you?
French ex-girlfriend.
Right. I actually.
There's a lot of faux going on in that relationship.
Right, okay. Are we ready for vrai or faux? Okay, so the way we're going to work is a couple of questions here, and then you got to give me an answer if you think it's vrai ou faux. First of all, Thierry Henry's favourite song is "We Are the Champions" by Queen.
I think there's a lot of European people.
That's a very, very astute observation. There, Will.
Wow, we are getting some knowledge on this podcast today.
Some would say millions. Thierry Henry's favourite song is "We Are the Champions" by Queen.
Yeah, I can see that. It could be. Is it vrai?
Well, we're going to see what Dave thinks as well.
Faux. I've got a feeling Thierry Henry's favourite band is the Foo Fighters or something.
It is vrai. It's true. Well
Yeah.
done. Well, it is
That's not the
indeed.
Thierry I know.
You don't know Thierry like
Right,
that.
okay. Question number 2. Thierry Henry is a big fan of movies and has had cameos in the Goal series and the Entourage movie.
Oh, now
Is
goal. Good God. Definitely wasn't it. Oh, wasn't it?
Dave, you're going first on this one, by the
Sorry.
way. Before
I'm
he
show
can
my
jump in.
workings out, yeah.
So, the Goal franchise and the Entourage movie. He's had cameos in both. Vrai ou faux? It's a lot of...
Faux. I think it's a faux from me as well.
It's vrai. It's true.
He's
been
in goal.
both.
Which
He's
goal was
in
he in?
goal. He's in goal number 2, apparently.
I've
goal
not watched that one.
Goal 2. I think it's only a fleeting appearance.
Bugger.
But apparently he's in both of those. Question number 3. Thierry Henry turned down the number 8 shirt on his return to Arsenal as he didn't want the number 8 shirt, as he didn't want the shirt to appear to reference Henry VIII.
Good God.
That's a very, very solid thing to do, Thierry. If he did that,
Well,
Henry was a little bit of a lunatic.
It'd say Henry 8.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah, what did you
yeah.
think? Number 8.
I just thought he had a real passion for history. Passion? Really a passion for history. And he was like,
oh, I don't want people to think I'm Henry VIII. Right, go on. So obviously if you had the 8 shirt... So I'll tell you again. Thierry Henry turned down the number 8 shirt on his return to Arsenal as he didn't want the shirt to appear to reference Henry VIII. True or false?
Thor.
Vrai?
It's false. It's false.
I
It's
knew it.
I'm completely made up.
That's a great line.
There you go. I know. I mean, I still don't feel like you fully understood that question.
No, I'm
Will,
sorry,
to be
mate.
honest with you.
Will, do you get it?
Right,
Henry
okay.
VIII,
There we go.
wives.
Number 4. In 2012, Thierry Henry had plans to build a 30-foot fish tank in his house, which would have cost £250,000, but he later scrapped the idea.
Thor.
What are you thinking, Dave?
He's a footballer, right? He's got some cash lying about. They usually do stupid stuff. But Thierry seems like a smart man. So he maybe have the idea, then bins it. I'm going to go with vrai.
I think he'd actually clean out a Clio and fill that up with water and put fish in there.
So you're saying vrai, Dave, what are you saying?
Thor.
It is faux. But let me just explain to you. It was actually a 40-foot tank that he wanted to do. So it was actually false. But
So actually, I was right.
In
but
a way,
your question was dodgy.
Well, yeah, I just kind of changed the question slightly. But yeah, it was,
Dodgy-
he actually wanted
dodgy ref, that.
Apparently, he wanted
VAR,
a 40-foot
that.
tank in his house. And then it was going
40
to
foot.
It was going to span 4 floors, apparently. And
See?
then I think someone must have gone, come on, mate.
So that's exactly what I was saying. So I think I get a point there. You don't get the point because I'm close to the truth there.
Okay, all right. Okay,
That dodgy
okay.
question. Jesus.
Last one. Question 5. Thierry Henry has been the reason why a word has been added to the Oxford Dictionary.
Vrai.
Yeah. Vrai.
Va va voom. It is vrai.
Ah.
Va va voom got added to the dictionary because of Henry.
Did I win?
You won. He says he made the phrase va va
Small
voom
victories.
famous as a result,
Didn't
of
even know
course,
Thierry
of
Henry is.
the of previously referenced Renault commercials. Get this bit. The usage and popularity of the word became so incredible that the Oxford Dictionary adopted the word, which means the quality of being exciting, vigorous, or sexually attractive.
Wow.
There you go. So
I've
that's
been
Thierry Henry
described
for
as
you.
a bit of Avavoom before.
Oh, there you go.
Whoa! You can't listen to it all here. If you want to find the full podcast, links are down below in the description. They'll take you to where you get your podcast from to listen to the full episode of 21st Century Football. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, drop a subscribe, and get in the comments down below. What would you rate this footballer out of 90? Would you take him for a pint? Probably not.